Hey, welcome to Soul and Story. We are so glad that you have chosen to join us. If you are a writer who is passionate about your faith, you are in the right spot. I am Cindy Smith. I am an aspiring author who is currently self editing her first manuscript. Um, and I'm just really excited that you are here to share the ups, the downs, the ins, and the outs of writing. And we just couldn't do this without you.
And I want to say welcome as well to Soul and Story. I'm Sara R. Turnquist, clean/Christian historical romance author. We are so glad that you're here. And today we're going to be discussing something that is part of every writer's journey, whether that is something you've had in your past or something that you'll have in your future. And what I mean is starting your writing journey with competence. As we finish out this year and gear up for 2026, we thought it might be a good idea to get some thoughts on what it's like to get started writing or to get more serious about getting published.
Yeah, well, today, for the first time ever, we are having a guest join us, and her name is Megan Singleton. Welcome, Megan. She is a dear, dear friend of ours. She's part of our writing critique group, and she has been such a blessing to us, and it's such a joy to get to know her. We're so thankful that she's joining us. Hi, Megan. Can you
Hey,
tell us?
hey, sorry.
That's okay. No, but we would love to hear a little bit about yourself, about you.
Yeah. Well, first of all, thank you so much for your kind words. That's so sweet of you. So I'm Megan Singleton. I am an aspiring author. I also moonlight as a high school history teacher. I'm kind of from a little bit of everywhere. My dad was in the Air Force, so I hopped around. I moved here to my current location when I was 16. I've been here ever since. Um, in my spare time, besides writing, I love to go to concerts. I love any kind of creative item, whether it's painting or doing arts and crafts. I love anything that flexes my creative muscles. I have an amazing little dog named Hershey, who is my pride and joy. And that's me in a nutshell.
Mhm.
Excellent. And you mentioned that you haven't published yet, but you do have something written. I've seen it in the critique group.
Yes, so I have a short story. It's a Christmas themed short story, and it features my two main characters from the novel that I'm currently writing, but 10 years after the novel, and is set during the Great Depression in Chicago. I am super excited to release it to my newsletter followers. I'm still getting that logistically set up, but I'm hoping to finalize everything by the beginning of next week. So if you would like to follow me follow me on Instagram and Facebook at Megan Singleton Author, and I will definitely have those updates ready to go once it's ready to be released.
Excellent. And for our listeners out there, I will do my very best because my husband is our tech guy, as you may know.
Mhm.
We will do our very best to remember to tell him to put Megan's links to her Facebook and Instagram in the description or in the show notes. Yeah, because we want to get a hold of that Christmas story for sure.
Thank you.
Out
Absolutely.
there, need that Christmas
Yeah.
story.
Yeah, definitely. We would love to, we would love to encourage our listeners to sign up too. That's one of the things that one of the purposes of starting to have guests is, first of all, we want to have other voices
Oh yeah.
speaking into the writing journey, but also to help other writers get discovered because, one of the best ways to build an audience is word of mouth. So we're just really glad to be able to encourage our listeners to sign up for your newsletter.
Yeah, well, I appreciate that. Thank you so much.
Yeah. I think you have a question, Sarah.
Oh, I do. I do have a question. I have it up here. So Megan, what got you started on your writing? And I'm going to give you a bonus question because I forgot my other question. What inspires you? So what got you started and what inspires you?
So how I got started writing, it just happened very organically. When I was probably in about second grade is when I started writing creatively. My mom would tell me like these really funny anecdotes from her childhood. And so I would go into our playroom and I would write them down and then I would share them with her. And she really enjoyed that. And so that kind of got me the courage to continue that. And then I also got started on writing a Sailor Moon fan fiction. That's also how I started being more creative. It was a very organic process for me. It was just something that I just picked up on. There was really no rhyme or reason for it, but my parents were great encouragers along the way. As far as what inspires me, that's such a multifaceted question because I kind of keep my antenna up for anything, that can be inspiring, that can be included in a story, whether it's like again, an old family story, whether it's like a really cool, unique name that I hear, I think, oh, that'd be such a great name for a character. History, music, and really my family are the big three things that inspire me.
Excellent. I really like how you talk about having your antenna up.
Mhm.
I think that is a fun trait that many
Yeah.
authors share, that the productive eavesdropping.
Yes. Yes.
Out there, but not because we're trying to find your junk, but because we're using you for inspiration for our
Yes, exactly.
Yes, but I also love that you cut your writing teeth on fan fiction. It was the same for me, but my fan fiction was in Star Trek: The Next Generation realm of things.
Cool.
And then when I started getting serious about writing creatively, it was historical.
Yeah. Yeah, it kind of happened the same way for me too, is that I've always been a history buff. And so when I first started writing, kind of gravitating away towards the fanfic, I would always write something historical related, or something that inspired me from something I was reading in English class. As an example, when I read The Outsiders in the 7th grade, I wrote a lot about orphans and gangs. So so it just inspired me, so
yeah, awesome. I think that authors and writers in general, creatives, are sponges. And that's one of the things that I think people enjoy about reading and seeing art and experiencing plays and different forms of creative art is that the writer or the artist hones what we see about the world and funnels it into maybe a suggestion or a thought that we put out there into the world. And then, a person that is a teacher, say, could experience what life might be like as a coal miner back in the 1800s, So I think it's really cool, but we can, not only can you experience other lives through characters, you can experience truths about life and humanity through the writer and the artist and the music and whatever creative outlet it is. So I think that's a really good point.
That is awesome. I loved that you started with writing fan fiction. I have not read, my first novel is inspired by Jane Austen's Pride and Prejudice. I wouldn't say it's fan fiction, though I have read a lot of Jane Austen fan fiction, and there's a lot of it out there. I think it's fun because when we read a story, I'm the type of person like, well, what happened next? Like, I try to imagine like what happened next. And I wonder, as you were talking, I'm like, I wonder if Jane Austen would be like really touched that all these people are like so moved by her writing that they're like, oh, what happens next? So, do you have any plans to write any more fan fiction?
I do not. I haven't written fan fiction probably since high school or college. So it's not something I have written in a really long time, but I am completely open to it just because I think, for one, as writers, especially if you're pursuing writing as a profession, like with anything, it becomes work and you don't want something you love to become work. So I think, delving into fan fiction or something that's just for you, I think is a way to keep it fun, when it can be, tedious or difficult, or you hit writing blocks and things like that. And I also think fan fiction is a great way to get into writing because the character's already there. You don't have to come up with, character traits and things like that, like you would if you're starting out completely, from scratch. So I think fan fiction is also a great way to get into it because pretty much everything is there. And all you just have to use is your imagination to further what happens after the story ends.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah, I really think sorry, Cindy, go ahead.
I loved the idea of like using writing fan fiction as a way to work through writer's block, and that it can just be for you. Like I think sometimes
Yeah.
as authors, we think we have to share everything that we write. Everything I write has to be
Yeah.
shareable, but it
Mhm.
doesn't. I'm sorry,
No,
I
it
cut you
does
off,
not.
Sarah.
No. I was just going to say, I think you've hit on another really hot topic in the writing industry, Megan, when you talk about how sometimes writing gets tedious. And there is definitely a business part to writing, a career part that says,
Yeah.
even when I don't feel like it, I have to write. But that doesn't negate the need for the creativity that goes into it or the
Yeah.
art of it. You know, sometimes we have to write because we have to earn a paycheck. But sometimes that becomes to the point that it's so dry that we need a burst of water in our creative well to partake of writing just for us, or writing or absorbing movies or plays or concerts or things like that that will fill us creatively as a form of creative rest so that we
Mhm.
can pour out to our readers. And I think that's a very interesting dynamic, that it is a business and a career, but it's also an art form. And so there's some tension there. You're right. But I have happened to notice in the writers group and the submissions that you bring for feedback that you have kind of, I'm going to use the word struggled to stay
Mhm.
at a time. Me too, friend. Me too. But tell us about
Yeah.
that.
I think it's because, and I think any creative person, whether it's writing, painting, whatever it is, you have so many ideas in your head, and it's hard to stay in one lane and bring it to completion. And I'll be perfectly honest, we live in such an instant gratification world that I struggle with finishing things because I want to be, instantly gratified. I want to finish it, and I feel like I'm stuck at, and in a writing block, kind of moment or whatever, or I am just kind of, I don't say bored, but I'm like, I need something fresh. Then I'll kind of move to another project, and then I'll kind of jump back and forth. It's just, I can never stick with one thing at a time. And so I think, yes, that is a struggle for me. Absolutely. But on the flip side, I think, like you said, creative rest. I think that's a great term. I think that's very important to have moments of creative rest in your creative process, because I want to publish something that will stand the test of time. I don't want to publish something people think like, oh, she really rushed this. I want people to know that that what I produce is my absolute best. So yes, it's hard for me to kind of stay in one lane. I jump from project to project, but at the same time, I value it almost, because I know that when I get back to it, I'm going to be fresh and renewed, and I'm going to bring even more life into the story. So it's kind of a double-edged sword almost.
Yeah, I agree. And I think I've mentioned to you before about Isaac Asimov, the science
Yes.
fiction writer. Famously, for our readers that have never heard this, he famously wrote multiple pieces at a time. So he was writing on typewriters at that time. So he would have several typewriters set up in his office, and he would have a different story on each one. And when he got bored with the first story, he'd move on to the second, then on to the third and fourth and fifth, and then finally back around to the first. And so it is a situation that some writers find themselves in. When I first started writing, I was writing at least 3 things at a time, at least 3 different projects at a time. And then as I got more into my process, it just didn't work for me anymore. But it is definitely something that some writers do.
Yeah.
And I agree with you that it is a great way to get through that middle. I always struggle in the middle. And I would love it if our readers could tell us, our writer readers could tell us if they struggle the same way, that as you get closer to the middle of the story, as you get past that inciting incident, and things do slow down in the novel a little bit because your reader needs to take a breath. But for you, the creative, things aren't happening as fast as you'd like them to, because you're in the middle of the story. You're building the conflict and the tension, and it just does slow down, and it's hard not to stall out in the middle. And every time I get to the midpoint of a story, I think, this is the worst thing I've ever written. This is not publishable. This is ridiculous. I'm never going to finish this. I'm never going to write push through to the other side. So I think both of those things that you're saying are quite valid. But I do know that as you're getting going with more full-length fiction, beyond the short stories, and having gotten off to a great start, what advice would you give our listeners who are interested in taking their writing to the next level or getting more serious about pursuing publication?
So it's funny you asked that, because I had a friend, a really good friend that I've known for a long time, ask me that very question. I was very honored she asked that of me, because again, I'm just getting started. But I would just honestly say, kind of what you have told me to do, Sarah, is just to write. Just start. You know, it doesn't have to be good. It doesn't have to be immediately ready for publication. Don't worry about the grammar and the syntax. Just write. Just get something down on paper. And I would even say, don't start off too rigid. Don't start off thinking, I have to write 1,000 words every day, 5 days a week. Just write for the joy of it, I would say. And if you're someone who if you're writing, especially fiction, and you're having a difficult time coming up with characters and things like that, then definitely delve into that fan fiction piece that I talked about earlier. But you know, just start writing. And if you're really wanting to get serious about writing, I cannot stress enough how valuable it is to be in a writing group. You know, you guys have blessed me as well in so many ways. And that's when I really started getting serious about my writing, was when I joined the writing group almost 2 years ago. I seriously don't think I would be writing really at all if it wasn't for the writing group that I'm in with you guys. Absolutely. So that's what I would say. Join a writing group. They're all over the country. Just Google it, and just write. Just write for the fun of it and enjoy the process. The story will be publishable and it will be polished at some point. Don't worry about that. Just write and have fun.
Yeah, thank you so much for that, Megan. That totally blesses me, because one of my missions is to pour into other writers and to help them take that next step, whatever that looks like for them. And so I think that being a part of a group that can pour into you and help sharpen each other, but also through feedback. And I loved this last writers group meeting where we did plotting, and we just turns, whoever needed plotting help you needed help with some plotting, and then one of the other ladies needed help developing a character. And so it can look a lot of different ways, but just getting together and having creative energy against creative energy, and spurring each other on. And I love it. And I'm glad that you love it too.
Yeah.
Yes, it's awesome.
We are very blessed to have you, Sarah. I mean, I'm a new writer too. And so, and I think that's part of the reason we started this podcast, because we wanted to share that with other people, but just to have someone in my corner saying, you can do this. You've got this. You've got the gift. You've got the talent. Yeah. Yeah. I would not be where I am today without you. And so, and speaking of, I mean, and then just the things that you've opened, I'm sure Megan would agree, like the doors you've opened for us, because like I listen to some podcasts of people who have been writing forever, and they're like, you need to be writing this many words a day and have this planned out. And I'm like, I don't even know what I'm really doing. So how could, but you don't expect me to be where you are in your writing process, which is huge. It is huge. And you being open to how you write. Like, I could add that into my life. That's something I can do. Anyway, we love you, Sarah.
Yes.
But talking about the importance of like finding your people, you went with us to the KCWC conference, or the Kentucky Christian Writers Conference, back in October. How did that help you? And how did it help encourage you in your writing journey? And then finally, would you encourage others to go to a writers conference?
Oh my gosh, absolutely. Yes. It was one of the highlights of my year going to that conference. It was so encouraging. I was with my people, because I don't know many people who do write, for fun and things like that, except for my writing group. So it was just so much fun meeting so many people who are in different stages of the writing process. And the people who were so prolific and have published a gazillion novels and things like that, they were so kind and humble, so encouraging. And it was so eye-opening to be there and to know that, hey, this is actually kind of feasible. Maybe the next time I come, I will have a table with my own books to sell one day. It really just lit a fire and kind of a sense of urgency underneath me to really get this novel going and to really finish it, and to know that I can do it. And I have the skill, and I have, growing knowledge of, the publishing industry and things like that, thanks to the writing group and going to the conference. I just learned so many valuable things there about myself, as a Christian, but also as a writer as well. It was amazing. I cannot stress enough how much I loved being there and how much it worked out. It was definitely it was a God thing, how it all worked out for me going. So I definitely highly encourage anyone who is even no matter what stage you are in the writing process, even if you're just a newbie starting out, go to a writing conference, because you will learn so much that you can take home and implement. And one thing I have to say is, don't feel like you have to implement every single thing 100% of the time at once. Definitely implement in stages, implement what you think will work for you and things like that, because you're going to learn a lot of information at those writing conferences. Just, take what resonates with you, implement one thing at a time, and, really personalize what you've learned there. I think that's the best thing about conferences of any kind, is that you can just personalize what you've learned from there and take it and make it your own. So it was a wonderful experience. I loved it. I can't wait to go again.
Oh, such great advice. I love that about personalizing and what resonates.
Mm-hmm.
So true,
Yeah.
Megan. So true.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And do you feel like maybe like actually getting your website up and having the short story, do you feel like that came out of stuff that you learned at the conference?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I started writing that short story at the conference. It was the last day during that loosely structured writing time. I just started writing, and I wrote a little bit of my novel too, but I had just this idea for a short story. And like I said, I can't stay in one lane. So once I had that idea, I had to just flesh it out. And so, yeah, it made me feel like a real writer. It really
awesome.
did. Going to the conference and finishing the short story, getting it released before Christmas. Yeah, I feel like a real writer for the first time in my life. So.
Oh, yay. That's wonderful.
Yeah, that's awesome. And you are a real writer. Absolutely.
Thank you. Thank you.
You have the voice, you have the gift, you have the wherewithal to do it.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So we are in December, and I know that for me, I started thinking about next year. I'm like, okay, what goals do I have for next year? What do I want to accomplish next year? So do you like to set goals? Do you have goals for 2026?
Oh yes, I am a goal setter. Whether I achieve those goals is a different story, but I am definitely ambitious and I love setting goals. December is one of my favorite times of the year because I get to just really think about what I want the next year to look like. And so as far as writing goes, I just want to finish my novel. That's the main priority there, is to finish my novel. Maybe do some seasonal short stories that I can release through my newsletter. I think that would be a secondary goal of mine. Continue to grow my audience through social media, my newsletter, and things like that. Those are the big things that I have. But, continue to learn, continue to just delve into writing and enjoy the process. I've learned, over time that yes, concrete goals are amazing, but what's that quote of, you write your plans in pencil, or, let God have the pen, things of that nature. I realize that, I need to be flexible in what the Lord wants me to accomplish. Absolutely. So I'm very open to what he has for me, but my main goal is just to get that novel out there and to, have the world, see these characters and everything. Because I think it's a story that needs to be told, and I think it will resonate with a lot of people, no matter if you have very, very similar experiences or not. I think the overall story can, really resonate with a lot of people. So I'm really excited to get it out there, and I hope, whoever reads it enjoys it.
That's awesome.
Yeah. And what you're saying really resonates with me. I love this idea of setting goals, but holding them with an open hand.
Mhm.
Because you're saying, God has the pen. In Proverbs, it says that in his heart, a man plans his steps or plans his way, but God directs his steps. And
Yeah.
so I love that we as faith-filled writers keep that in mind and remember that he is the one who calls us. He is the one who's going to bring about whatever happens in our career. And so leaning into that and leaning into him is a great source of comfort and a way to keep us humble, I think, too.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
But I wanted to say thank you, Megan, for joining us today, sharing more about your writing life and some of the things you've encountered along the way that have helped you. I am a big fan of the Kentucky Christian Writers Conference as well. It was one of my first conferences that I went to, the first one I went to where I felt like, these are my people. So we will have that conference again. I'm on the planning team now, but we'll have that conference again in October of 2026. So keep an eye out for kychristianwriters.com. We'll try to put that in the show notes as well, or in the description for the YouTube watchers. And so that you can follow along, and maybe you too, my dear readers, could find us at Kentucky Christian Writers Conference. I am encouraged, Megan, by our time together and eager to see what you bring us in the future and what God does through you, in you, and around you.
Absolutely.
Well, thank you so much for having me. It was an absolute joy to talk to you guys, as always.
Well, we love you, Megan. And it has been a joy to have you. And I'm excited about what you shared. I this morning I was a little dragging, and now that we're done with this podcast recording, I'm like, yes, we're ready to take on the day. So, but thank you. And we love having
right after we finish.
Yes, exactly. There's right to writing afterwards. But we loved having all of our listeners with us today. And there are so many authors out there, and there are so many stories and so many journeys, and we want to share them with you. That's why we're starting to have guests joining us. And we would also love to hear from you, our listeners. Where are you in your writing journey? What are you writing? Do you have goals for 2026? Please just share them in the comments. It encourages us, and then it gives us kind of like an idea of maybe things that you want to hear about later in other episodes. So please be sure to comment. And I just got tongue-tied. Please be sure to leave your comments for us so that we can see what you're thinking about. And be sure to join us next time for another episode of Soul and Story.
Thank you for listening. This episode is over, but your writing journey continues. Visit SaraTurnquist.com to find links to help you achieve your writing dream.